We love the opportunity to bring entrepreneurs together and really help you tell your stories better and be prepared for live events. And so today, with our food funded investor fair coming in November, we thought we'd take this opportunity to use it as a great way to introduce entrepreneurs to better ways to tell their stories. And so I'm going to share my screen and introduce you to Renata, who you heard me say in the background. Renata Gomez is with Food Funded and Slow Money. She's on our board, but she is also a wonderful coordinator. And if you have questions or any needs while we're on this call today, she can be reached through the chat, and she'll also be coming on at the end to tell us a little more about some upcoming events. And those of you may or may not know, but our fearless leader, founder, and inspiring person, Arno Hesse, will be joining me as we present. Use the Food Funded event as a guide, but this is whether you are doing this for a tech company, whether you're doing it for a food company or anywhere else. These are great tools. And so we use the background of our upcoming investor fair, which also is an educational platform and a wonderful way for people to connect. We're going to be covering a few things today. Number one is just the guidelines and the best practices for presenting in person. We're going to talk to you about how to know your audience. What are they looking for as investors, as fellow entrepreneurs, and as just future partnerships? We're going to have Orletha Smith, who some of you might have heard earlier. She was a wonderful presenter at our Farm Fest in the early part of the summer. And so we love having her tell the story because it's a great example of what works. We're going to do the do's and don'ts, just some tips and tricks for the best way to line your slides up with what you're talking about, and most importantly, the time frame. And then we have Nancy Rosales today from Petitos Paletas. She is going to be one of our presenters next month, and I think she'll really appreciate, as we all will, learning a little bit about some of these things on how to really hone in your message. So investors are interested. I am going to turn this over to Arno, and he is going to take it from here and tell you a little bit about the audience.
Thank you. This is a great attendance today, so I'm looking forward to this. I hope you can see my my screen. So a lot of course, the community is entrepreneurs, investors, and community activists. But as it is food funded, you're of course looking forward to connect with the investors. And a lot of people think investor is this one species, right? And so David Attenborough on BBC would probably say, so what is this species like? How does it behave in the wild? So I think the first thing is that we need to know it is not just one species. Investors like your product and your customers come in different flavor profiles. So what, and you can differentiate them by what are we looking for? What are investors looking for? Definitely, and I'm looking here at two axes to how I would go through this. Definitely, what is the strength? The strength of the impact. What are you trying to achieve? And that's what we're trying to match up against. How likely are you actually to execute? How are you set up to execute against that that impact that you're trying to achieve? And some investors, they are like a little bit stronger on wanting to see execution, because then they see their money is safer. And they talk about impact to make money. And then there are some investors there who talk about money to make impact. These are more like people like me who are like looking at impact first. And of course, everybody wants always to be in the upper right corner where impact is strong, execution is out of the ballpark. So that would be, but then they come in different flavors. And that is, I think, one of the most helpful lessons you should take away from this. here you see like investors come like really in different packages. Most of the attention is goes to the Silicon Valley's type venture capital people who are typically higher on like getting rich quick and to getting money, and the impact side is usually an afterthought for them. But there are a lot of people like family office, angel investors, crowdfunders who are looking, who are valuing impact stronger. So make sure that you appeal to them and not think like somebody wants to hear from you how you make them rich quickly. That's not what our ad audience is that we are attracting at Food Funded, which is more in the upper part of these pictures. And we'll send you the slides later. You don't need to write it all down, but they're just to say investors come in different flavors and know who you're talking to in terms of what their expectation is. So what are their expectations? So I can only speak to mine and like the more impact leaning investors. And I want to leave you just with 5 quick essentials that when I see people on stage for the first time, that whet my appetite to do some follow-up with them. Number 1 is get my attention. For you, what you do on stage that day is probably the most important thing that you do all day. Your adrenaline is flowing, your endorphins probably also high. Me, on the other hand, I have a lot of attractions and distractions sitting there in the audience. So get my attention, use strong, bold pictures, and guide me to what you want me to look at here in this picture. I'm personally always easily attracted by ice cream, people who know me. So draw my attention out of the big crowd, really what you want to say. Just a few words, because the talking will come from you, just a few words on the slides. And drive a few strong ideas home, not all the ideas that are in your head. That's how you get my attention, and I'm with you, right? Then tell me, number 2, tell me what you are about, what your business is about. Sometimes I see people going into like rolling out the solution, world hunger, food waste, ocean health, and dietary restrictions, and then 3 minutes later into the presentation, there's the big reveal what they actually do. Please state, like in 1 or 2 sentences, somewhere within the first half minute what this is about. Because if you don't, my brain goes on guessing. My brain cycles are being spent on guessing game, and I'm filling in the blanks, and I may fill them the wrong way. And you want to guide me where my brain cycles go, as opposed to me being distracted by trying to guess around. And then number 3, what I would definitely want to hear from you is why. Why are you doing this personally? Why are you dedicating yourself to this mission? And because I see a lot of people who spend a lot of time on the what, and then there's even more time on the how. But fill me in on the why. Why are you taking such a strong bet on it and want me to join you in this bet? Not your entire life story, of course, but make me understand why we're talking and why you're dealing with this. Then the next people that I want you to understand is actually talk to me about your customers. Know who are your customers? What do you know about them? What are their preferences? Why the heck would they spend their dollars that they're spending now on something else, now on you? Because they don't have just extra budget to spend just because you learn. So help me understand this a little bit more. Who are the customers and how do they make their choices? And that is more important to me than showing me like a slide with your big market bubbles, because to me, quite frankly, it doesn't really compute in the moment what a $2.8 billion market is versus an $8.2 billion market, because you're starting out with doing something with the customers in your markets that you're addressing. And I'm not one of those investors that wants you to go for world dominance. I first want to be a viable business in the communities, in the markets, with the customers that you're going after. And also, to me, it's more important that you understand how your customers think about competition than telling me that your product has 3 grams of sugar less than the mainstream competition. So that's super important. A lot of people in their presentation never talk about their customers. That's always baffles me. And then at the end, leave me with a glimpse of your game plan. What's your roadmap? Not all details, but just like, where do you see this going? So that we're getting excited. We see an entrance, where you're starting, and where could this be going? Definitely, please, no spreadsheet with numbers. That's for a second or third date, and not on the big screen. That's inappropriate. And have those numbers and with you at the table or for later conversations, definitely. And one thing that I'm telling you right away as a spoiler alert, investors also want to know, how would they actually get their money back? Is there a return trip for the money? And that would be good if you have a good answer later in conversation, but we don't expect that to see it on screen. So that's my quick 5 takeaways. The summary is, what I see from you on stage is just a teaser for me. And it shouldn't be more than a teaser. I don't want the full story. I cannot compute the full story in my brain. Don't speak too fast and try to get lots of words in talking or on the slide, because you don't want to answer all the questions while you're on stage. You want to leave me with questions, because that's the starter for the follow-up conversation that I want to have with you once I like that first taste of ice cream.